Fatal Sleepy Rookie. I'm here with my boy Isaac, you feel me? Issac Anderson, he's the GOAT, man. It's my teacher for real.
Man, behind the camera, in front of the camera today.
And he got some fire music too. Go check that out, you know what I'm saying?
We're gonna put all his tags or whatever.
For sure.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
We're glad to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. And we want to hear what you got to say about these topics today.
Absolutely.
So you want to go ahead and get into it, Rod?
Yeah, we can. First, we're gonna talk about this ChatGPT thing and how that's going on in the world, and what could it lead to, and could it be a good thing or could it be a bad thing? Like, how do you feel about it, Isaac?
Oh goodness. So I'm sort of in the middle with it. From what I love ChatGPT, I think it's really, really awesome tool. Like, as a video creative and a musician,
Right.
I think that specifically for the video creative stuff,
Right.
it's great because, you know, half the job of doing this kind of stuff, you have to be cool with social media, you have to be cool with writing what's called copy, like description. I know you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah, I had a class where I had to do that in college. It was a lot.
Yeah, so this basically, you know, when it comes to from pre-production, if you need an idea, it can say, hey, you know, just prompt it, write me an idea of two guys in the forest with lightsabers. You know, that's just a kind of a dummy idea. And it'll kind of get you started like that. But it's also a little bit, it's not a human mind. It's basically just training a bunch of other things. So you can't really quantify it as like your own idea. So it's a good starting point for pre-production, I think, for post-production, writing Instagram descriptions, writing, you know, stories on websites and stuff. I think it's wonderful. I use it this morning for Instagram descriptions, and, you know, even though I might not use all of it, I use aspects of it, or at least gets the ball rolling. So I think it's a really, really cool tool, but I know now there's a lot of heat of like, well, we can just eliminate the writers and we don't have to have like creative minds. We don't have to be creative anymore. We can just type it in. So I think there's a problem, but like, what do you think about it, Randy?
Like I said, I'm gonna piggyback off you. I think it's good in certain aspects. Like, even when it came down to me working on a podcast behind the scenes and discussing topics, like it gave me a brain start because I just went to ChatGPT and typed in something in, and it helped me spark something in my own brain to bring to y'all. You feel me? So y'all can view it. So I feel like it's a good thing, but I also feel like it's kind of a bad thing because I feel like, even like in the law system, somebody could frame you. You know that they can make a whole another sound of your voice. You know what I'm saying? And that could lead into something like getting blown out of proportion, and then you can get in trouble for that, even though it's not really you. But they gonna probably it can just escalate in the different ways, and I feel like that'll just be a little
on
crazy.
The other side of that, I feel like it also gives people a cop out to a certain extent. Like, even if they were caught, they can just say, hey, that wasn't me, that was ChatGPT, you know what I'm saying? That was AI, you know what I'm saying?
That is true.
Yes.
That is true.
But also on the other end of it, they can use it to their advantage, to be honest. But to get into my viewpoint on ChatGPT, I wish this was something that was around for a long time because I've already graduated.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
And you wish you could use it for assignments, which is another thing.
I think it would have been great. Like, obviously, you can't copy exactly off of it because these college systems are going to apparently get used to it and start to be able to forecast and see that coming. But I can use a little paraphraser with my ChatGPT, and then I got an assignment right there, and it's just easy, you know? Hands free, you know?
Yeah, I definitely get it.
Like what you said, ChatGPT can do a lot of good things as far as getting the ball rolling in content creation, because I feel like that's one of like the biggest challenges in making good, unique substance is starting, because we can get there. Definitely. We just got to start to get there. You know what I mean? But yeah, ChatGPT for me is mostly benefits. Obviously, there's always bad things and good things on other sides of the coin, but for me personally, I think it'll do a lot more good, but there's definitely some future dangers that could come into play.
Yeah, and I think that now, like at the time we're recording this, you know, like the Actors Guild and the Writers Guild are both on strike because of this kind of stuff. Because now, who's to say, like, well, we can have the writers kind of start this and say they quit, or they don't want to write it, or they want too much money. They can just fire them and get the computer to write the rest of it because it's coherent enough where it's going to work.
Yeah.
So now,
which is crazy.
And there's all sorts of other AI tools outside of ChatGPT. It kind of I don't think ChatGPT was the first, but it was kind of the first mainstream one that we knew about. But
exactly.
I mean, ChatGPT doesn't only write copy and it doesn't only write things, for brands. It also does like business plans. It can do pretty much anything.
I'm glad you said that because I know somebody that actually built their company website using ChatGPT.
Yeah,
and
so
some
there's
people use like resume builders. My mom actually recommended me using that for resumes and stuff at one point. And honestly, it's smart because you can like say, okay, I've done this, this, and this. Make me a resume in this format. Right. And that format could be whatever the jobs are looking for. You know what I mean? So like you can really cater it to exactly what you want. You just got to be specific. Yeah. So that's where I think it won't be viewed as you just plagiarizing because you have to input like a lot into it first. You can't just say, hey, I want a paper, write it for me. You got to give it instructions first.
And you also have to have the, the mindset of like you have to read through this because I've definitely had the thing where it's written it for me. But if you don't read it, it's still a computer that's been trained on other things. It's going to be like if you write something for it, write me something for the Sleepy shirt. Yeah. It's going to be like, do you like clothes? How about you get new Sleepy shirt? New Sleepy shirt, tasty. My family enjoy. So it's not, and it's going to have like a couple emojis there. Like,
you definitely got to post checkup and make sure it's right.
So it's not completely there, but like, you can definitely humanize it a little bit, but there's two ends of the spectrum, but like that's not the only AI thing that's out now. I mean, now you have things that edit videos for you. As a video editor, that's also something that's cool, but also a little bit frightening. And we talked a little bit earlier about like Adobe just put out this podcast AI for audio, and like you were my audio student, so how long it takes to fix audio. This basically gets you in the ballpark. I mean, what do you guys think about that kind of stuff, enhancing creative aspects and almost doing the creative aspects for you?
So it sounds like a dangerous thing as far as like it's a threat to us, but I think it's gonna help more than anything because it'll limit how many people needed to make content. Like, I don't think it's feasible to be one person and think you can make good quality content. Like, you need a team. But tools like this can substitute as your team. Let's say your editor's out for the week. Okay, boom, let me get my hands dirty. Let me use this. And leverage those skills.
Or you can afford an editor,
Exactly.
Like you don't know how to do it.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's cost efficient and it's almost like a business strategy if you use it the right way.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it personally.
I mean, on my end, I feel like, like you saying, Fred, it plays good on both roles. I just feel like me doing audio personally, like...
Yeah, talk to me.
You know what I'm saying? For being in the class and being in the broadcasting program, like me actually being hands-on, like, I wouldn't like to just have something just do something for me because that's just going to mess up my knowledge from what I've already learned, you know what I'm saying? Versus me going here for years, then, okay, it's a program that can already do what I've already got taught, you know what I'm saying? So that's just going to be like, I feel like that's going to, not to say I'm going to be dumber, but this is going to dumb down my knowledge of what I could be learning, you know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that because I feel like that's like innovation and technology in today's time is always, let's make something easier for us to not only make, but to consume too.
Right.
And that kind of slows us down as a society. It pushes us back. Like, for instance, this is a little bit irrelevant, but it's another industrialization. Like, something as simple as contacts saved in your phone.
Right.
It used to be a point where we would like remember these things.
Right, exactly.
We can't do that no more. I don't know. I mean, your grandma might be able to, but not too many people are knowing everybody that they talk to. Yeah. And in emergencies, you need to know stuff like that. So like, that's just one example. But to speak to that, as far as what you were speaking on, I'm sure there's pros too to doing it yourself because now you're more in tune with what you're creating, and it's like you're relying more on yourself as opposed to
the work that you're doing might be better than if you just did it off the chat GT. I can even talk.
Chat
AIs and whatnot.
Yeah, but like the AI stuff is neat, but at the end of the day, it's not a human, and it can't really think in a creative space like that because it might be thinking the way this kind of stuff works. It's basically just it gives it a big sample size of like a million things and says do something like that, and it finds common denominators.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Ronnie, I want you to edit this, and I want this like flanger part in the middle and everything," the computer might be able to do it the way computer does it, but you gotta have the knowledge to be able to do that in a way that's actually creative, and you can put a human spin on it that a computer can never do.
Exactly.
But let me pose you this, because I know you guys are artists to have the stuff on the brand and everything of Sleepy.
Yeah.
How would you feel if Sleepy, like, in a couple of years, which really blew up, became like everyone knew what Sleepy was, you guys had a tons of designs, then somebody online decided to do designs that looked eerily like yours, but it was just using AI, make me a Sleepy type shirt, and they were making money off of it. How would you guys feel about that? Because that's essentially what happens.
What happens with the yeah, exactly. That's a great question.
Like you don't legally own that because you don't have it, but like they trained it on your stuff. So is it? Are you for that?
I feel like right now I'm gonna say I'm against it, but I feel like the way law is gonna be made at that time, I feel like they're gonna take these things into consideration. So there's gonna be some type of system put in place to protect me as a content creator, and if it's not, I'm going to be campaigning for that as a content creator because I know the dangers of that. You know what I mean? And that's very interesting to think because mockery is a form of flattery. So, like, there's only so much offense I can take to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it goes a little deeper than that, though, when it comes to, like, monetary. Like, if they put it out and they have $5 shirts and you guys have, like, the $20 shirts and people start buying that, and, like, you see a visible loss in profit. Yeah, I think that's what people, I think it's going to get caught up in court with this kind of stuff. I think people are already suing now.
Yeah.
And like, what's to happen, eventually when it gets a little more serious, Andrew, here at the studio was like, hey, what happens if somebody trains AI on like Pentagon papers or like classified documents? You can't undo that. Now, you can just say, write me a Pentagon type paper on how to do this. So, I mean, it gets serious. I mean, we're talking brand wise, but I mean, this goes really deep and it gets kind of nutso. But I don't know.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, kind of final thoughts on that. Like, what do you think?
I honestly would be upset if that was to happen to us, and I would definitely, we definitely would have to get an LLC, and I'm suing them because.
But what if it's outside of your LLC, like you said, because
it's technically not yours.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because it's a computer that did it, but it trained it on your stuff.
I'm going to court. That's how I feel about it. Like,
it gets kind of
I'm gonna be like, yo, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, and you feel me? This is our business, and we work hard for it.
And that's some of the dangers that come into these AI softwares. Like, it does do a lot of good, but there is some potential for dangers. But I feel like that's anything in our society. There's good, there's bad, and we just are gonna have to go
work
and
around
roll with the punches. Yeah.
I think it's a good tool, but I think that we need to kind of hedge our expectations to as far as like where it needs to go, and don't rely on it completely, because at the end of the day, you have a human mind, and I think that's a lot of power into it. But at the end of the day, I think it's a nice tool in the right aspects.
Yeah, for sure. Segueing now, since you said something about like people kind of potentially making money off of our brand, it kind of goes into like that verified aspect of things that we talked about earlier as well. Viewers, I don't know if y'all know, y'all probably do, but like there's these things on like Instagram and Twitter Blue where you can pay for verification almost. And we kind of just wanted to get into that a little bit. And me personally, I think, and I said this to you earlier, I think there's a need for it as far as, say, your brand or a company or something like that, as far as building validation and credibility.
Right.
But when we're buying subscriptions for your personal accounts,
just to look cool,
for 200 followers, and you want people to believe that you're verified, like it gotta make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like me personally, I don't care for my personal pages to be verified. I would like to see Sleepy verified here soon, and y'all are gonna play a main part in that. But personally, I don't think I'll ever pay for a blue check on any of my personal accounts. How y'all feel about that?
Ronnie?
I just feel like, me personally, I just feel like that's kind of lame, because from the personal aspect, like, don't just go buy that just so everybody else in the world can think you're cool, and you feel me? If anything, you just need to be yourself, be organic. If people like you for you, then you feel me, they gonna follow you. If not, you feel me, tell them to beat it. But you know what I'm saying? like Isaac was saying earlier, business aspect, it just gives you a wider broad of, you feel me, viewers, and it helps you promote your brand and, you feel me, become more successful. So I definitely understand that. But me personally, I would still just like to do that off the muscle. Like, if the guys came to agreement and we all pitched in and did that, then that would be cool. But I feel like with my team, you feel me, the foundation we created, I feel like as long as we keep on going, you feel me, we wouldn't even have to do all that. We just got to stay consistent. So that's just my little take on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it kind of goes either way, because this is like a recent thing. I think ever since like the Twitter changeover, since Elon Musk took it over, he did this thing where you pay $20 a month, you get the blue check mark, because I think everybody already knows this, but like the way you used to get a blue check mark is like you just became popular,
Right.
and you had to submit for it,
Right.
and whoever was up there looking at it, I was just thinking, like, they're like looking down at the tower at you, and they're like, not verified. But I mean, it's basically if you're like a public figure, if you're a brand, or if you're a musician, a band, and I think it's mostly just so people like would know this is the real them.
Yeah,
exactly.
especially. And it's necessary for instances like that where, let's say you're a Drake and you have millions of fan accounts that are trying to portray the same person using same names that are like one or two characters off. It is important to separate yourself from those groups. I think the numbers behind your followings will do that too. But me personally, I feel like that blue check would be a way of running away from the grind, because with that blue check or without it, I know I need to change something to go get that, or make adjustments to go get that. But if I just pay for it, I'm slowing down my evolution, so to speak. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm getting it without working for it,
I think that it kind of goes either way too, because I mean, people have been buying followers and trying to look more popular since the beginning of time. I mean, like maybe not buying followers, but like trying to look more important than they really are. And we see that now. I mean, even before we started paying for blue check marks on Instagram, Twitter, I don't really mess with Twitter a whole lot. And now they have Threads, which is like Meta's thing.
For sure.
So I think that's going to start blowing up too. But yeah, I'm thinking specifically on Instagram, when you see somebody with a blue check mark, just something about it, even if you don't know who the person is, like, oh, that person's official, that person's legit.
Right.
Because you see somebody with no blue check mark and they got a bunch of followers, it seems a little
fishy.
like, wait a minute, like, this guy's not legit. But then you see somebody with maybe a little less followers and a blue check mark, and you're like, okay, well, this person's must be famous. Let me check him out. I'm apparently people like this guy.
Exactly.
But now it's become such a big kind of washy thing where you just pay like $20 a month, and it's like someone with like 400 followers has a blue check mark.
Like how?
And I'm like, like something's not right here.
Exactly, because you'll have 400 followers, that blue check, and only 20 likes on your post.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense.
You look silly. It got to correlate. That's why I think it's dangerous for personal use, because you'll fall into that.
Exactly.
But as far as your business, I mean, if it's not doing what it needs to be doing,
Right.
just buying a check ain't gonna help your problem. It ain't gonna build your brand for real. It might make it look good from the outside looking in, but we want to look good from the outside, the inside, the side, the back, front. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All aspects.
Exactly.
Man.
And also, people that got blue check marks before this pay thing ever happened didn't deserve the blue check mark. It was like they had like a moderately successful blog back in like 2008, and now they'll put things out there that people screen cap and like retweets and do all this kind of stuff. Like, and I'm like, who is this person?
Exactly.
And so I think that's like when the big Twitter changeover happened, he's like, well, this is a good way to not only prevent people from like having blue check marks that don't need blue check marks, but also this makes a way where we can make a little money off of it. That was probably the end goal. But then it became like, you had like all the fake accounts. Like, you don't really know who's real.
Exactly.
But there is some benefits to it, because you have like the subscribe stuff now. You can subscribe to a page and get official content for brands. So it really is dependent. But I mean, it's kind of like having a guarantee on a box. Like when you buy something at a store, it's like, well, it just makes you feel a little better, more like it's official if it doesn't have a guarantee in the box or have a name brand.
For sure.
It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So that could potentially be where social media is going.
Right.
So with that in mind, do you guys think these Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, are they going to be here forever? Is it gonna change? What is that gonna look like?
I have a quick question though. MySpace is not an app anymore, right? Or do they still have
They're
MySpace?
still around.
Okay.
They still have a URL and all that. I don't think it's checked off,
I'm about to say,
but it's still there's still a market for it, I guess.
And Facebook's been out for
About 20 years now.
Yeah, for quite a while. I feel like they will probably end up. I feel like once apps died, like, cause Triller was popping at one time, then it got quiet. You know what I'm saying? Vine was, you feel me, popular at one time, then it got quiet. I just feel like over time they probably will continuously try to, like, when I'm 50, they're probably gonna have new
Something
apps.
else,
You know what I'm saying?
There's always something coming for sure.
Just over time, you feel
Things
me?
die and things come back out. I think, with the rise of threads, I think Twitter will probably take a dip. Because the same way when Instagram put out Reels or anything like that, and it didn't kill TikTok, it didn't kill Snapchat when they put out stories and all that.
Yeah.
They're just trying to bank off those kinds of things, and I think that Meta's obviously like the big one that everybody knows of. I think that social media will always be around.
Definitely.
Now, but I mean the apps are going to change. I think we really prefer short vertical content now. I mean, you might be watching this vertical on Instagram or YouTube Shorts or whatever it is.
Right.
So that's just where people are now. But I mean, 5 years ago, long form, like horizontal content on Facebook was really huge. But now Facebook's just a cesspool for like your aunt to post minion memes and political.
Or check somebody's birthday or something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, things change all the time. So like, I guess if the big thing is like when you have followers on a social media platform, you rent those people, but like you don't own those people. So one day they can just decide, hey, Instagram's going down, you don't take any followers with you, and you just lost all your fans.
Exactly.
So I mean, people are going to like email marketing. You kind of own those people because you have their addresses, but I mean that's a little different. So social media will always be around, but I don't think anybody that's using social media for any specific like serious content should rely on it 100%. Like never rely on that kind of stuff like Instagram 100%, Facebook, because one day the algorithm can change, you lose all the followers, or you lose your page, which happens to a lot of people.
That's a great point because I like to talk to Rod a lot about that. Like I want to use any and every channel possible. I mean, why wouldn't you as a business person? Because it's out there for the taking. If you just limiting yourself on one platform, you're kind of putting yourself in a box. And we're definitely nothing needed to be put into a box.
Exactly. That's why we on TikTok, YouTube,
Instagram,
everywhere, Facebook, Twitter.
I stay mostly on Instagram, Facebook, and a little YouTube. But I find like that's where most of my fans are. But working in this field, I definitely have to get familiar with all of them. And TikTok, especially when we started the TikTok.
Algorithm. I need some more platforms to take up TikTok's algorithm.
I don't see TikTok going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't either. Really, and they always, it's funny you say that because they always kind of try to act like it's about to get deleted or something. Like I've heard that over the last 2 years more times than I can count. And it don't seem like it's going anywhere.
Well, it's a big fuss of like, I think state-run organizations are not allowed to have it. So anybody like, like community colleges or anything like a government run, like under the state umbrella, can't have it because it's owned by China or like a Chinese organization. It's kind of a whole thing.
With like the data, it's a whole thing about like data tracking.
Tracking data.
And that's another thing for me. How do you feel about that? Because personally, I don't think China wants anything from my day-to-day routine.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I think some of that might be fear-mongering, but it is a legitimate concern, especially like I know they made it illegal for anybody like in a government device to have that because
and that makes sense because they're at risk of losing some data or something like that.
Yeah, but as far as like the 18-year-old boy going like this. I don't think they're going to steal a whole lot from him, except for like a couple memes on his camera.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't really know. I mean, I think there definitely is some concerns as far as like, certain things, privacy is definitely a big issue, but I think it might be a little bit overblown, but then again, I might be totally wrong. The documentary will come out like the TikTok tragedy, like 10 years from now, talking about how this is how America, wound up blowing up because a kid wanted to dance to Pine Grove on TikTok.
Nah, for real.
Or drink a Grimace shake.
No, that Grimace junk is that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's a little wild.
I don't think y'all are gonna see a sleepy Grimace trend.
Never
in the future. I don't know.
Never.
We'll see.
I do have a purple shirt on right now, so
Yeah, I'm about to say, but you're not
I
gonna
might
explode
turn it
in,
grimace now. Let me see. But
Yeah, nah, this was fun though. We
Yeah,
appreciate your
Kemi.
time,
Shout out
Isaac.
to
Thanks for
Isaac
having
Anderson,
me.
man.
A lot of
We're gonna drop all his tags right here, so y'all can go show love and support him as much as he do it for us. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Shout out to
Real one,
Sleepy.
right?
Like, comment, subscribe.